Hello, and welcome to today's show of Makosa Cakes News. Our top story in celebrity news: Susan B. Anthony was arrested again just outside the White House. We are told that she put up a good fight, receiving multiple injuries to her face, including a broken nose and a scratch right on the tip of her chin. Here is a live news feed of the event near the White House. In other news, there was another breakout of stagecoach robberies along the California coast, resulting in 2 deaths and a total loss of over $20,000. We've been told that the burglars target Catholic families who are trying to escape the Order of the Star-Spangled Banner. To talk about these attacks and other forms of anti-foreignism is Tommy, an expert on nationalism in America.
Thanks, Dan. Anti-foreignism is becoming one of the most dangerous ideals after the founding of this country. Self-proclaimed nativists have turned their protests into active violence, harassing certain groups of immigrants. Irish Catholics and Germans seem to have been hit the hardest. There's a growing number of immigrants, Catholics especially, that have begun to threaten these nativists.
What have been the nativist reactions to the threat of immigrants?
The nativists have formed groups to try to combat the threat of immigrants. One of these groups is the Order of the Star-Spangled Banner. This order is a secret society similar to the Masons that were founded in New York City. It was created by Charles Allen to combat immigration. Another group is actually a powerful political party called the American Party, known here as the Know Nothing Party. They actually evolved from the Order of the Star-Spangled Banner. They are increasing in power, and they have the weapons to actually win a presidential election. They have already won gubernatorial elections in the Northeast, with Massachusetts the latest to fall prey to their propaganda.
So, Tommy, what are these groups doing once they reach office in the States?
Well, Dame, mostly they are pushing for immigrant restrictions such as limiting government positions to only native-born Americans. Other restrictions are limiting juries to only native-born Americans and also barring immigrants from city jobs. Their reforms have caused a lot of violent uprisings, including the Louisville riot, which killed 22.
What restrictions have the nativists imposed on immigrants? Not in America just yet.
Well, mainly just limiting how many can actually immigrate to America. They call for greatly reducing or even eliminating how many immigrants can come. Also, they have called for naturalization restrictions. So now some immigrants will have a lot of difficulty becoming U.S. citizens.
Thanks, Tommy.
Thanks, Dan.
Well, here is our next expert for this weekly update. Our world-renowned Western movement analyst, Michael the Greenfetter. Great to have you on the show.
Nice to meet you. Thanks, Damien. We've been tracking the effects of the Western movement and found that a large portion of the lands that were farmed quickly have become barren.
Yes.
The tobacco that those moving west have grown is thought to be at blame for this. On a brighter note, though, Kentucky bluegrass has shown to be very good for livestock and will hopefully help the industry there. And our final story for tonight is about George Catlin and his conservation efforts. He started out as a lawyer, later decided to follow his heart and become a painter. Over the years, he has painted many Indian tribes and captured the beauty of the West on canvas. Back to you, Damien.
Thank you, Michael. You can go now.
After the unfortunate death by beating during commercial break of our newscast founder, Dame the Makosa Cakes, he left his fortune in a will I wrote for him to me, which was just Wilbur. Anyway, on to more pressing news. We have another renowned expert here to tell us about the new Industrial Revolution. Please welcome Darius Dingleberry.
Thank you, Tommy. I would like to begin with the founding of the Industrial Revolution, if you don't mind.
Oh, not at all.
The Industrial Revolution began because of the increased mechanization in Britain. Many British inventors, such as James Hargreaves, who invented the spinning jenny. Jenny was an early abbreviation for the word engine in Britain. A machine that enabled an individual to produce multiple spools of thread simultaneously. By the time of Hargreaves' death, there were over 20,000 spinning jennies in use across Britain. The spinning jenny was improved upon by British inventor Samuel Crompton's, which was called the spinning mule, as well as later machines. Another key invention in textiles, the power loom, which mechanized the process of weaving cloth, was developed in the 1780s by English inventor Edmund Cartwright.
That is some interesting info. Now tell me, what about the improvements in transportation?
Well, Tommy, before the advent of the steam engine, raw materials and finished goods were hauled and distributed via horse-drawn cart wagons and by boats along canals and rivers. In the early 1800s, American Robert Fulton built the first commercially successful steamboat. Additionally, around 1820, Scottish engineer John McAdam developed this new process for road construction. His technique, which became known as macadam, resulted in roads that were smoother, more durable, and less muddy.
Okay. Well, how about communication improvements?
Well, communication became easier during the Industrial Revolution with such inventions as the telegraph. In 1837, two Brits, William Cooke and Charles Wheatstone, patented the first commercial electrical telegraph.
Well, that's all well and nice, but you need some sort of system to develop all of these technologies and mass produce them, don't you?
Oh, yes indeed, Tommy. Of course, the Industrial Revolution also saw the rise of a factory system dependent on owners and managers. This factory system was based on a large amount of workers producing mass quantities of goods, with owners and managers supervising the workers so they don't slack off.
Now, I've heard rumors that the British have tried to keep this revolution inside their own nation, so that others don't benefit from their new breakthroughs in technology. This can't possibly be true, can it?
Oh, but it is, Tommy. The British government enacted legislation to prohibit the export of their technology and skilled workers. However, they had little success in this regard. A famous case of this is Samuel Slater. Slater has been called the father of factories in the U.S. because of the fact he had brought the guarded technology to America. He was attracted by the bounties presented for British engineers for industrialization, and eventually memorized the blueprints for hours and hours on end for textile machines and went to America. There, he got the support of a famous Quaker banker called Moses Brown. In 1791, he developed his first factory and began to fan a flame of desire to work domestic industry, particularly in New England.
Oh, I'm sorry, I just don't understand. You would think such technology would cause major disruption in ways of life of the good old US of A and change everything. But I still came to work riding a donkey instead of a locomotive. I would prefer the latter, so why isn't the Industrial Revolution taking the nation by storm?
Well, America was slow to develop an industrial base because of the fact that the nation was new. There was so much cheap, prosperous land available, not only in some of the states, but also out in the West. Immigrants would often come with pocket change from the old world, pocket change, and end up buying acres of land and live happily for generations. Besides, would you want to be in an unsafe, unregulated factory or out in the sunlight, planting and watching the fruits of your labor grow, literally, without worrying about an unfair manager not paying you for your hard work? For this reason, a labor force was lacking, so a strong factory foundation of a skilled and unskilled people was unable to be found in the U.S., like it was found in condensed Britain. Also, many Americans did not desire to invest in business aside from the corporate side of New England. Many Americans simply wished to keep life stable and traditional for generations, and did not have the attitude of risk takers, as they already had what anyone at the time would want, a nice piece of land that they could farm. The vast reaches of land in America also contained large quantities of unfound goods, and however, These resources would continue to be under the radar until a lucky farmer found some while digging, or rumors spread because of technology was not yet able to find many resources in the acres of acres of acres of land.
So, do you think that the revolution will take hold one day in America?
Oh yes, definitely, of course, there's no question. Of course, soon enough, the balance of resources like iron, gold, oil, coal, and quarries of stone meant that the nation will be able to export resources to other nations to fuel their industry while being able to jumpstart our own industry as well. Thankfully, technology was steadily getting better and improving to find more resources. And the love of land would bring more immigrants to America. Soon enough, land would run out and factories will be required to keep all the future mouths of America fed.
So now, we have Pulawini, a time traveler, who has graciously agreed to appear on Makosa Cakes Live and answer some of our questions. So, the first question that we have for you is whether anti-foreignism in the United States is still prevalent in your time period.
Oh, you'd think things like that would not be around anymore in my day, because it's 150 years in the future, and people are supposed to have matured by then. But no, in places like Arizona, they still have these arguments about whether they should enforce stricter immigration laws on illegal Mexicans. Also, in the presidential debates, they had the same exact argument. So, but one good thing is that we have opened up a lot of jobs for these illegal Mexicans. Pretty much every job except for the President of the United States can be occupied by any foreigner.
How about westward expansion? Is that still a problem in your day?
Well, we've really run out of room in the West to expand, but we have been able to modernize the West and make it a very large power in the United States. We've also managed to have many national parks which preserve the beauty of the country and will for a very long time. While fur traders really aren't that common anymore, a lot of industry does happen in the West.
And we come to our last question of the day. Pulawini, how has industrialization affected your time period? And also, is there any current industrialization going on that we need to know about?
Oh, sorry, Tommy. I didn't hear you over my Slayer. Let me just take my earphones out. Well, the Industrial Revolution was a major point in history, no doubt. However, what you view as modern in your time period, we view as certainly primitive. Such as, for example, the idea of traveling with horses or even locomotives seems hilarious to our standards. Instead, the modern era is just full of monster trucks. In fact, there's so many new inventions after the Industrial Revolution that the idea of mentioning them all and showing you them all would take ages and ages, and perhaps lead you to my era. The Internet revolution is a revolution that we are going through in my time period that is like the Industrial Revolution in the fact that it is connecting us globally and allowing people to be more innovative. Maybe we will be visited by some other time traveler who will tell us the effects that the Internet revolution had on them.
And that's me and Wilbur signing off at Makosa Cakes News. I hope you all have a great day. No, Wilbur. Oh, stop. No, stop. No.
I will be your doom.